Tomorrow, or maybe the day after, y'all are gonna see the biggest deep dive into the release date of the new episode, where I gathered every single piece of info and figured out when we can finally expect the long-awaited episode 5. But today, we're talking about what we're actually gonna see and what this episode's gonna reveal. We'll break down not just Jax and Ragatha, who are the main focus of this episode, but also analyze all the leaks we've got so far to figure out the core idea of episode 5, and what we should expect from this, let's say, more calm episode. And even though Goose once said otherwise, I still believe that, even if just by a little, episode 5 is going to shift its focus more toward Ragatha rather than Jax. The very first leak was an image showing a drawing from Gangle's notebook, where we learned who she considers her friends, Pomni and Zubul. Even then, it seemed odd that Ragatha, who is usually on Gangle's side, was not on this list. But judging by this drawing and Gangle's words, we can see that not everything is as straightforward in the digital circus as it might seem.
Oh, Ragatha. I love her, but after a while it gets kinda hard to tell how genuine she's actually being.
We understand that almost half of the first season of TADC has already passed, but we still haven't seen any hint of major events. And based on one of Goose's spoilers, we won't see that in episode 5 either. One user asked, which out of the next 5 episodes is the lightest in terms of mood? And are you also doing those short mini episodes that aren't that important to the plot? To which Goose replied, 5 is probably the lightest of all the episodes. One could say that it's the silly before the storm. And now, this is getting really interesting. Considering another mini spoiler, it's genuinely unsettling. Gooseworx confirmed that episode 5 cannot be considered a full-fledged Ragatha episode, just as episode 6 won't be solely about Jax. It turns out that both characters will be revealed to us in parallel across these 2 episodes. However, it's been said that episode 5 will be the last calm episode, meaning it will fully uncover all the characters' sins. Reflecting on our first spoiler, we realize that Ragatha apparently doesn't belong to the list of positive characters. Her behavior in episode 4 was only the beginning of the terrifying truth we'll learn about her.
You are such a grouch! Why are you always being a grunch? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something. I wish someone would flirt with me.
Many fans were genuinely curious about what would happen to Ragatha after episode 4, how other characters would treat her, and everything else. However, one fan asked a more specific question: what will happen to her after the events of episode 5? The response Gooseworx gave raises many questions. For some reason, I'm convinced we won't see the familiar happiness from Ragatha anymore, and her line from episode 5 only reinforces this: not anymore. What this could mean remains the subject of debates and discussions, but I think I've managed to solve this mystery. Think back to Ragatha's behavior in the first 3 episodes. She's always cheerful and joyful, and these scenes only confirm it.
That's just one of Kane's little adventures. They're just something fun to do to, prevent us from going insane. Wow, sounds fun. What do you think, Pomni? Oh, this place is spooky. I wonder how hard Kane's gonna go with the scare factor.
She didn't even lose her optimism and love for life during the most critical moment, when she was on the verge of turning into an abstracted monster. Even in episode 4, although she was under the influence of the stupid sauce, it still wasn't depression or negativity. However, one scene stands out from the overall picture of the cheerful and happy Ragatha.
Really can't leave, and constantly chasing an unattainable goal will start driving you a bit crazy. And eventually you get to asking what the point of anything is, and you completely lose sight of who you are and why you're even alive, and when you reach your breaking point, something really terrible can happen.
And that very phrase, "not anymore," might signal that Ragatha has returned to her true mental state and is now tired of wearing masks. All she wants is to simply be herself. The phrase, "huh," isn't a hint at any horrifying or tragic events, but rather an acceptance of the fact that Ragatha hasn't been authentic for a long time. These changes are also hinted at in episode 4, which, though presented as a humorous piece, subtly lays the groundwork for a chain reaction that will lead to a complete shift in understanding Ragatha's character. While the behavior in episode 4 is driven by the stupid sauce and shouldn't be taken entirely seriously, this episode acts as an inhibitor of deeper changes to come. Although we won't delve deeply into Pomni's phrases or other out-of-context remarks, as the focus here is on Ragatha's evolution and the overarching narrative beyond just episode 5, it would be remiss not to discuss how Ragatha arrived at this point. While no official confirmation exists yet, And from the early season 1 announcement, we already know the new setting is going to be a stadium. Judging by the renders, it's pretty obvious it'll be baseball themed. Even the opening scene of episode 4 gave us a little sneak peek of what's to come.
Wind your arm backwards in a big circle, release right at the bottom, and follow through. You got that?
You're wasting your time, Raggy.
Just wait a second.
Like this?
Yeah, you got it. Jax!
I actually didn't mean to do that.
Are you all right, Gangle?
Oh.
Why do you always gotta do this?
What? I just said it was an accident.
Unbelievable. You are.
There are only 2 characters in the digital circus who know how to play baseball, Jax and Ragatha. This bit of info will be important in the second part of the video. And of course, the key phrase for episode 5 is, haha, which, honestly, is a bit of a letdown. It's so vague that it could mean anything. It could hint at a wildly funny episode, which I highly doubt, and I'll explain why in a moment. Or maybe it's a sarcastic jab at one of the characters. One thing I can say for sure is that this so-called teaser is accurate. After all, the key word for episode 4 perfectly captured its essence.
Huh? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy. 'Cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something.
Why would you do this?
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons. Anyway.
In one of the posts, we were teased with a line from a random character, and it goes, "Democracy sucks." Now this is where things get even more intriguing. Remember when I said only Jax and Ragatha know how to play baseball? Well, this line belongs to one of them. So, who's the lucky one? Drop your guesses in the comments. A key detail about the upcoming episode is something entirely new for us. For the first time, all the characters will participate together in a new adventure, which we can call Digital Games. This is exciting because we have no clue how they'll interact as a group, especially since in past adventures, something always happened that left only 5 characters in the spotlight.
Zuby?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I know. I could sit this one out, and Zubul could take my place.
What? That's not how that works.
Now, let's dive into our long-awaited episode 5. By now, you're probably tired of me talking about who knows how to play baseball, but considering there are only 2 characters with those skills, it's highly likely they'll act as player coaches in a simplified version of the game. After all, the digital circus characters don't even have enough players for one full team. But hey, that's where the versatile mannequins come in. These guys can do it all. Scare a character, cheer wildly at their arrival, or even completely shift our perception of a character through the consequences of their actions. And now, circling back to that mysterious phrase, it's becoming clear that it was likely Jax who said, "Democracy sucks," when the other characters voted him as one of the team coaches. As we've seen in previous episodes, every new adventure leads to the group being split into 2 teams.
You, me, and Pomni will go check on Kaufmo, which leaves Crybaby and Hoo-Ha together to go handle the Zubul situation.
Episode 4 was a bit of an exception since everyone stayed within Spudsies, but even there, we could say only Zubul and Ragatha were truly working as a team. Now, the sports-themed episode has to introduce an element of competition between 2 teams. Considering Kinger has never directly interacted with Zubul during an adventure, and let's not count that pilot episode scene where Zubul was more of a target than a participant. While everyone else has already had that chance, I'm pretty sure the first team, along with the mannequins, will include Jax, Kinger, and Zubul. And let's be honest, this setup is bound to be hilarious. Jax and Zubul have been at odds since the pilot episode.
If there was a way to leave, I'm pretty sure we'd have all left by now.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
How about an adventure where Zubul gets turned into a piñata and we all take turns beating them up?
That one's mine.
Who would have guessed?
And as for Jax's opinion of Kinger, well, you already know all about that.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
Just don't be mean.
We've been stuck here for years. Old Kinger over there's supposedly been here the longest.
Oh, did someone say something about an insect collection?
That's why he's crazy.
In that case, the second team will consist of Ragatha, Pomni, and Gangle, and this setup promises to be truly fascinating. While the first 3 episodes led us to believe Ragatha was the only genuinely kind character in the digital circus, certain scenes, especially her obsessive drive to gain Pomni's approval, planted seeds of doubt about her true intentions.
There she is. Hope you're doing all right. I know yesterday was a bit of a doozy.
Doozy.
Oh, and don't don't worry about the whole abandoning me for the exit thing. It's perfectly understandable what you were going through at the time, and there's no hard feelings. You're all good. Well, let's forget about all that. Kane's got a new adventure today, and judging by what he's been teasing, it seems like it's gonna be a fun—
One of the teasers released after episode 4 revealed a notebook where Gangle loves to draw, and that one drawing turned everything upside down. Ragatha is missing from it, but why? The answer lies in the conversation between Pomni and Gangle, which became the key foreshadowing for episode 5.
Do you have anybody to talk to? Like, in regards to your issues? I'm sure Ragatha would like to help you out.
Oh, Ragatha. I love her, but after a while it gets kinda hard to tell how genuine she's actually being.
In episode 5, we'll witness the beginning of a full reveal of Ragatha's true personality, and something tells me we're not going to like it. Excluding the eccentric Kinger, Ragatha is the oldest resident of the digital circus, which made her somewhat juvenile behavior feel odd. However, as I mentioned earlier, this is likely tied to some personal goal of hers. Episode 4 has already started to shed some light on who Ragatha really is.
Packages landing on my head, tea parties, dancing lessons. No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask. Yo, Jax. I hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
So in episode 5, we're likely to see the continuation of Ragatha's reveal. She has nothing left to hide since everyone already knows who she truly is, and the role of a coach fits perfectly for this, as it will be interesting to see how the real Ragatha behaves when her team is losing. Will she encourage her players as she usually does, or will she snap and start shouting and insulting Pomni and Gangle? That's definitely an intriguing question. Additionally, I noticed the connection between Ragatha and Jax. Their episodes are placed next to each other for a reason, and something tells me that Jax might actually be a more complex character than we first thought. He's not just about mocking others and cracking jokes. Episode 4 gave us a glimpse into a different side of him.
How you doing?
Everything's been... I'm doing fine.
Wish I could say the same.
Jax, there's dishes back here. You got time to lean, you got time to clean.
God. I'm on it! Later, Pomni.
And maybe in episode 5, Jax will seem like a normal guy, but based on the description of his episode, this won't last long, because for Jax, being normal is complete boring. As you may have noticed, I didn't dive too deep into the plot, but focused more on the premise of the new adventure.